way she started cussing because I was drunk. But then she gonna tell me about watch your back. That's the second time she told me this within a week's time. See, I already knew what it was about because the dude she was seeing, he not only was married, but he was a drug dealer. Her brother came to me about trying to bust him because he was a cop in Opelousas. So I agreed to do with him. But neither one of us could bust him, so they brought in a narcotics agent from Lake Charles. It never did get off his feet to where we could do it, but he got a hold to it that what we was trying to do. That's where the threat came in, and that's when I purchased the gun.
We are about to watch the parole hearing of a man who took his ex-lover's life in front of her child many, many years ago. But before we do, we are going to take a blast to the past to watch his 2022 commutation hearing. So with that, let's jump in.
So you are Noble Robinson Jr., DOC numbers 320689. You're here seeking a commutation of your sentence. You were sentenced in January 1993 in Acadia Parish to a life sentence for a second-degree murder conviction. Is that information correct, Mr. Robinson?
Correct, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Marabella.
Thank you very much. Mr. Robinson, my name is Tony Marabella. Your case was assigned to me, so I'll start this interview process, okay?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Robinson, how old are you, sir?
I'm 71 years old.
How long have you been in prison on these charges?
I've been here in Angola since February 22nd, 1992.
Yeah. How long have you been incarcerated on these charges?
Since August 25th, 1990.
Almost 32 years?
Yes, sir. It's 31 years, 11 months today.
And at the time this crime was committed, you were 32 years old? How old were you?
I was 39.
You were 39 at the time these crimes were committed?
39.
Tell me who Mr. Noble Robinson Jr. was at 39 years old. Tell me what was going on with you in your life.
I was just really, I was out there in the streets. I was doing drugs. I was selling drugs at one time. And I just didn't have no sense of direction. And I just felt that nothing about it. I didn't even have a job. And I was just freed on my parents,
Had you ever worked?
Oh, yes, sir. I worked for Southern Pacific.
What kind of work did you do in the past? Before
Well,
you came?
Before that, I worked for Southern Pacific Railroad. I worked for a lot of my work. I was in California. I worked for James Olin Son. I did a lot of working in the warehouses, the type of work I do now. I work for Methodist Hospital. I was a receiving and shipping clerk.
How did you get to start selling drugs and doing drugs? How did that take place?
Well, a lot of times, I just, I didn't stay nowhere permanently. That was my main reason. And sometimes I did things. I was on the run, and I just tried to avoid, being caught by the laws.
What was the relationship between you and Miss Sarita Thomas?
Miss Sarita Thomas is the mother of my son.
Did y'all live together at one point?
At one point we did that. We lived together in California, but we split up when I came back to Texas.
How long were y'all together in California?
How long we were there in California?
How long were you together with Ms. Thomas?
We were there about 5 years.
And how long had you been split up with her when this happened?
We've been split up now approximately about a year and something.
So tell me what happened on August the 4th. Tell me what happened on August the 25th.
On August 25th.
1990.
On August 25th, that day, It was before noon. I was smoking weed laced with crack. I was also drinking. It was a hot day, and I rode to the IGA store on a bicycle. There was some questions I had for Miss Thomas that was we needed to get straight because this was affecting me. For I was threatened a lot, because behind things I was doing. One of them was,
Back you up just a little bit.
sir,
When did you first start doing drugs? When did you first start doing drugs?
when I first started doing drugs, this is probably in my 20s. I was an addict, so I
Were
did never do drugs.
were you doing drugs the whole time you and Miss Thomas were together for 5
No,
years?
sir. No, sir. No, sir.
No? I guess that's the question. When did you go back to using drugs?
When I went back to using drugs,
Yeah?
well, I was off and on doing drugs. I had to put it to you like that there. It wasn't no straight because we both still smoke weed. We were no drug addicts. We smoked
Right.
weed.
All right, well, let's go back to 1990.
Yes, sir.
On August 14th of 1990, you threatened to kill him. You went to jail, right?
I threatened to kill her.
Yeah.
Well, I threatened to shut her up
Well, what did you mean by that?
because she was putting out a rumor that I was working with the police, and I didn't see that that I was working with a dark.
Were you on drugs at the time?
Sir?
On August the 14th of 1990, when you went to her house and threatened to kill her and got arrested, she reported you to the Church Point police. They arrested you. You bonded out. Were you on drugs at that time?
No, sir.
You went there to shut her up. Drugs weren't involved. You were
No.
going to take what? No.
Drugs was not involved.
Okay. So what did you go to her house to try to shut her up for? You threatened her. What did you threaten her?
But she had put out a rumor that I was working with a narcotics agent. The dude she was dealing with.
Tell me what you told her. Tell me what you told her you were going to do.
Well, I wanted her to just stop putting out this rumor.
Well, hear that. What did you tell her? She reported you to the police. You got arrested. She said you threatened to kill her. What did you tell her?
To stop putting out this rumor that
I hear you. It's one thing to say stop putting out the rumors. If she didn't stop, what were you going to do to her?
Well, I wouldn't have threatened her. No, sir. I wouldn't threaten her like that to take her life. That's not
Got arrested.
I got arrested, but I did not get arrested.
Bonded right out, and you went right back and broke into her, tried to break into her house.
No, sir.
Right?
I never broke into her house. They said
August the 16th, you didn't throw a brick through her window and cut her sofa with a knife?
That a knife. Sir, they said that's what I done.
Did you do it?
They said, no, sir. They said I vandalized her house.
Right. Did you do it?
This is not something I did.
So you say you didn't do that?
Yes,
Okay.
sir.
And on August the 20th, you came to her house uninvited. Is that true?
The dates are kind of like getting weak to me.
On August the 14th, you threatened to kill her and you got arrested. And when you killed her, in between the time that you actually shot her, there were at least two incidents where you went to her house. One of which you're accused of throwing a brick through the window. The other is going to her house a couple of days before the killing, uninvited. Is that true? Did you stalk her? Did you keep going over to her house?
No, sir. No.
So you deny that?
Yeah, I do deny that.
So tell me what happened then on August the 25th.
On August,
you still wanted to talk to her about these rumors? Is that what I'm hearing?
That's what I want to do.
So on August the 25th, you were going to talk to her again about these rumors that you were so upset about. Is that what I'm hearing?
Thing is, I rode a bike to the IGA store. I did not know she was at the store, but I did want to talk to her about it whenever I seen her. This was my main intention.
Okay, so tell me what happened.
I was on a bike and I rode up. I seen Miss Sarita Thomas in the back seat of a car with my son. And Miss Patricia Ann Peachy was in the front seat on the passenger side, which Sarita was in the back seat on the driver's side. I got off the bike.
Robinson, before we go any further, okay, you have given several different stories about what happened. Today is your day to tell the truth. I've read the reports. I've read both of your statements. I pretty much know what happened. So I'm expecting you today to tell me the truth.
This is my intention to tell the truth, sir.
Okay, let's go.
Are we still talking about me going to the store?
I'm talking about the day you killed her.
I went to the store. I got off the bike. I come around to the passenger side where Miss Peachy was and Sarita Thomas was in the back seat. I spoke to my son. This is when the arguments thing, because she was telling me to get back, get away from us.
You had a gun on you at the time?
I had the gun on me at the time.
Why did you have a gun?
I kept the gun because the rumor was that I was helping a narcotic agent try to bust the dude she was seeing, the brother she was seeing at the time, which was true. I don't deny that. The thing was, I got, sir?
Weren't you a convicted felon?
Me?
No.
I was convicted of forging a check.
Right. What were you doing with a gun?
Because it's about protection of my life. When you threaten me with something like that,
I know, I hear you, but as a convicted felon, you didn't have a right to carry a gun.
Well, at the time, sir, I felt my life was in danger.
From whom?
From this drug dealer that she was seeing, who also was married, but he was a drug dealer in Lafayette, and he wasn't a drug dealer in Church Point.
Continue what happened and how it was that you shot him.
I'm asking to see my son. My son is very important to me. At this time, she's telling me to get away from the car, leave all this alone. Stop. I'm not listening to that because I want to see it. Sir?
She's in the back seat, you're outside.
In the back seat, and he was in the back seat.
You're outside.
And I'm outside the car.
And with a gun.
The gun was never pulled out then.
But you had a gun. Okay, go ahead.
I got a gun, stayed with me. I stayed with the gun. We are arguing. And I'm asking her why she putting out this rumor about me being with this narcotic. And she telling me that I best watch my back. I'm taking heed to this. And so at the time, I done got angry. I done pulled the gun out. I shot at her at a downward angle. I did not know that the shot hit her in her leg. I shot.
So you intended to shoot the gun?
I didn't intend to shoot her. I intended to shoot into the seat of the car.
You had your son in the back seat. She was in the back seat. And you shot a weapon into the car? For what reason? Yes, sir. For what reason?
It's mainly to scare her, to let her know that I'm going to protect myself. Due to the fact she had already told me that I had better watch myself.
How did you hit her in the head?
The shot went down at a downward angle. It hit her in the leg, which I really didn't know at the time. When I shot the second time, I had never shot this gun. When I shot the second time, it was a kick in the gun. It was a 38. She reached down to grab her leg. And that's when the bullet hit her here, the second shot. Hit her right here.
You shot twice into the car.
I shot twice.
Back seat in her there. So what were you intending to do?
Scare her, let her know that I'm gonna protect myself. Because I'm not gonna just sit there and let nobody threaten me.
Well, why is it that your first statement was to the parole of your clemency investigation back in 2008, you said that Patricia Petrie grabbed the gun. You remember saying that?
So I did say that, and that's what happened.
Why did you say that?
Because when I went to trial, it's on the transcript that me and her tussled with the gun. I am taking full responsibility of this. I don't need.
Wait a minute. Now, you've given some, that's why I asked you. I want to know what exactly happened. You gave a statement in 2008, and you said this lady, Patricia Petrie, Miss Petrie, grabbed the gun from you, it accidentally went off, and you shot it. And then later in 2021, you gave a statement to saying that your son called you, and then basically what you just said, you shot to scare her. You shot her in the leg, then you shot her in the head when she bent down. So
Yes,
why would you say the lady grabbed the gun back in 2008?
She and I tussled with the gun. We tussled with.
I didn't hear you say anything about Miss Petrie grabbing the gun just now.
It's in my transcript. It's in my trial transcript.
I just heard what you said. I asked. I'm not going to argue with you.
No, sir, we're not arguing. No, there's no way I'm arguing with
Robinson,
you. Right, sir.
You just told me what happened. Never once did you say this lady grabbed your gun. You said I intended to shoot in the back seat to scare her.
I intended to shoot in the
and I
front
shot
seat.
twice.
I never
the gun
shot.
kicked, and then it shot her in the head. You
Sir,
never said
I never
a word
did
about
say.
it.
I
Go
never
ahead.
said in the back seat. I said in the front seat to scare her. I am taking full responsibility of what I've done. When we went to trial,
Mr. Robinson,
yes, sir.
I had a position when I first read your report, read everything, all the good things you've done. And I'm beginning to change that position.
All right, sir.
Tell you
All right.
very honest, because I asked you to be very honest with me, and that's all I'm asking you to be, is honest with me. So several stories.
Can I finish? Can I explain? In my trial, this was
I'm
never.
not worried about your trial. I want to know today what happened.
In my trial,
Let's move on, Mr. Robinson. Let's talk a little bit about some of the things that you've done in the past. Why were you dishonorably discharged from the
because I forged a check for $178 when I had been in the Army 4 months. I gotta leave. And I forged a check for $178.
Tell me a little bit about the programs that you've taken. What do you consider to be probably the most important program that you've taken while you've been with
Victim impact. This program has only been taken by 5 people in this whole penitentiary. And I was glad I was part of it. Because victim impact was
I'm sorry, I missed what you said. Victim impact, is that what you said?
Sir. Yes, sir.
Tell me why that was so important for you.
Because it was very emotional. This was a program nobody else had ever taken here in Angola. From the time I got here in 93 to up to that day. And only 5 people has taken it. It is a very emotional program that I consider one of the best programs I ever been in.
What sort of substance abuse programs have you taken?
Substance abuse 1 and 2.
Okay. And have you ever had any long-term substance abuse treatment?
No, sir.
What would your plan to stay sober if you were to get out of prison?
Me and my fiance has talked about this. And we discussed it because she's an ordained minister for 17 or more years. We have already planned, if I was to get out, for me to go to the transitional house. But once I get on the streets with her, we have already called AA Serenity Club. We have already called and talked to people in NA Agape Anonymous Club. This is because
You've been in prison?
Huh?
Have you gone to any AA meetings while you've been in prison?
No, sir.
Are you familiar with the 12 steps at all?
I'm familiar with what I learned when I was in substance abuse. Serenity. Yes, sir.
So did you drink? Are you an alcoholic?
Sir, I've been without alcohol or any kind of drug for 31 years.
I accept.
I am not no alcoholic.
Accept that. Were you an alcoholic or a drug addict when you came to prison?
Before I come to prison?
No.
Oh, is this the question?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
So now you're not. Why are you no longer an alcoholic or a drug addict?
I figure after 31 years and 11 months, I passed every drug test that was here. I passed every last one of them negative. And I can't see me being an alcoholic.
Tell me a little bit about your faith-based programs. You've taken some faith-based programs. Tell me a little bit about that.
I've taken all the programs there is that's dealing with God because I believe in God. And that's going to be the main thing because I have my fiance and I, like I say, she's an ordained minister, have a spiritual bond together. And for me to have, a man for the rest of my life with her, I have to be a part of this.
Now, you do have some opposition against you. Your son is unopposed to your getting out. That son who was in the car with Miss Thomas when she was killed. So tell me about the relationship between you and your son now.
At an early age, this happened when my son was 4 years old. My baby sister used to bring my sister to my son to Angola to see me. He was so young that he don't remember this. But as things growed up, he couldn't come see me because he had a sex charge. He couldn't come see me in Angola. My sister, the one that's there gonna talk today, will let you know that she was one of the ones that raised him. When I was at the rodeo in Angola, he came and he seen me and we talked. And he actually told me that he forgave me. Now, what he's saying now, that's just something I don't know why he's saying what he's saying, but he has forgiven me. When he came to Angola, he come to the rodeo. And during time at the rodeo, I was cooking jambalaya. And we talked, and this is the God honest truth. He told me there that he forgave me.
What kind of work would you do when you get out?
So I've been doing this work I do here at the warehouse. I love shipping and receiving. And I've been doing it to the best of my ability. And the people there, they love me because I do my job well. I would like to do that kind of work if possible. But I've been in the job code. I learned welding, and at the age of 71 years old, it's not a whole lot of things I can dealing with my health. But the job I will do is my fiance runs a trailer park, 250 trailers. And with that, she is willing to hire me with some good money. And I just like to be there, to do that if I can.
Mr. Robinson, you look like you're in really good shape. Are you okay physically? You have any health issues?
I stay active. I play sports. I still play sport at my age. I do some things youngsters can't do.
You indicated earlier that one of the best courses you ever took, the best program you ever took was Victim Impact.
Yes, sir.
Tell me what you would say to the family of Miss Sarita Thomas, if you had an opportunity to say something.
Well, I would tell them I am very, very remorseful for what I've done. I cannot justify what I did, I'm saying, but the thing is, I just hope that one day they find in their hearts to forgive me. But I've learned a lesson. I learned to stop doing doing the things I did that was not supposed to be doing. Being in Golden Maple was a place for me to come. I just asked for another chance.
Gordon, what can you tell us about Mr. Robinson?
I can tell you that he's a minimum A class trustee. He hadn't had any DV reports since 1986. He did take the victim awareness course, substance abuse, which is living in balance. He did T4C, Inside Out, and he did the 100-hour pre-release. He had a GED since 1969, and his tire is low. He also participated in Cage and Rage, so he did anger management.
Mr. Robinson, you've got a good disciplinary record. You've only got 4 write-ups.
Yes, sir.
Last 1996, is that right?
Sir. That's right.
I have to tell you, I'm concerned about your sobriety. I know you tell me, oh, look, I haven't done drugs in 31 years, 32 years. But you know, again, as I told you earlier, I wanted the truth about what happened. I'm reading your application. Your application says I was so intoxicated on drugs and alcohol, I ended up pulling out my gun and proceeding to shoot in the back seat where Sarita was hit. I shot her twice. So
Yes,
I don't know if you don't remember exactly what it is you did, or if you were so intoxicated on drugs and alcohol that you don't remember exactly what happened, because you told a bunch of different stories about how it happened.
Yes, sir.
It concerns me that you've only taken a few courses on substance abuse. I think maybe long-term substance abuse may be better. I don't know that you have a real sobriety plan. I mean, I hear you say, well, we're going to do this. My fiance is going to tell me this, but you've got no familiarity with the 12 steps. You haven't gone to any AA or NA meetings while you've been in there. I'm concerned about that. Okay?
I understand.
I thought, so I'm going to sit back. Madam Chairman, that's all the questions I have. I'll sit back and see if my colleagues have questions, and I'll listen to everyone else before I make up my mind.
I understand.
Yes, sir. Well, how many kids do you have?
I have 8 children.
Okay, how many of them do you have contact with?
I have contact with my daughter, Tanisha, my son, Kevin, my daughter, Courtney, my son, Terrence. I tried to write my son, Denzel, who's the one mother that get killed. He's in New Orleans. I even tried to call, but he doesn't return things. And after this COVID hit, like I said, he was coming to the rodeo and he was seeing me and we were talking to get to know each other. And this, I guess I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, that's all the questions I have.
Do you have a limited duty status?
Right now, I have a duty status with regular duty.
Okay, regular duty. All right. All right. I don't see any other questions by my colleagues, so we'll hear from the folks who are here in support. We'd like to hear from first your sister, Miss Miranda, and I'm going to ask her to pronounce her last name for us.
You talking to me?
Oh,
Okay, yes, ma'am. I understand. You were talking about, you want to talk
Okay,
about.
sorry about that. Can y'all hear me? This is Miranda Gradnick.
Gradnick. Okay. Yes, we can.
Yes, ma'am. Yeah.
First, your husband.
Yes, ma'am. I'm one of Noble's sisters. We're a family of 10, and he's the oldest person. I've heard a lot through this conversation about his sobriety. Up until that day, I've never known Noble to ever drink, and he and I are very, very close. We have a very close bond. We were brought up without fathers, and I'm hoping that that can change so he can have a chance to be with his children, his grandchildren, because they're in his 30s. But in that situation, living in the projects in certain areas, I know there's a lot of things that people don't understand that goes on, and it's just a matter of survival. And I do believe that when you commit a crime that you have to pay, you have to definitely do your time for what you've done. 31 years, I would not be concerned at all with drugs or alcohol. He was never an alcoholic. He was never a drug addict. He smoked weed. That particular day, he had lots of stuff in his system, which I can't understand, can't explain to you, but I can tell you he has a loving family. We have lots of things planned for him as far as programs. My husband here teaches juvenile detention. He's also a mental health counselor, so we're able to help him mentally and physically. He has a safe place to stay. He has a lot of support. In the whole situation, as he was trying to explain to you all, it was a lot more involved that are not in that report. Mrs. Thomas's brother was a Church Point police officer. So a lot of the things in that report, he probably doesn't have an answer for because he was not aware of it. They forced my mother to move from Church Point. They planted drugs in my sister's house and made her leave from Church Point. So it was a bad situation for the victim's family, for my family, and it was a lot on both sides. But I love my brother. I'm very proud of the things that he's accomplished. I really do think that Angola saved his life, because if he would have stayed on the path that he was, I don't think he'd be alive today. He was threatened and he was afraid for his life. He had never, ever carried a gun. And I'm 62 years old. We are 10 years apart. So that day puzzles me as well as the committee here. But he is not a threat, absolutely not a threat to anyone. He doesn't need any kind of assistance as far as him doing drugs and alcohol, because he's learned his lesson. That Angola training and everything that he went through, I'm so glad that he has educated himself. He got his GED, because otherwise he would have not gotten any of that. None of us did. We were brought up to just fend for ourselves. So for him to be as far along as he is and in the health that he's in, I'm very proud of my brother. Most of his sisters, including myself, I have lupus and fibromyalgia. I've had 15 surgeries. It's very hard for me to make that 3-hour trip to go and see my brother, whom I love very dearly and willing to do anything to help him. So he has the support and the love. He taught me about family being in prison. We were never told by our mother, not a single day in our life, that she loved us or hugged us. So that is something that we became a family in learning how to do that. My brother is not a threat to anyone, not anyone at all. You guys would not have anything to worry about. So I am asking for forgiveness, for compassion, and for mercy. At his age and his health at almost 72 years old, he's not a threat to anyone. He is a trustee. He can be trusted. He is a God-fearing man, and he has all the help in the world that he could possibly get. But I can assure you that situation was very hard on both. He did the time, but I still feel like my family and the victim's family are also suffering. I was just on the phone with his son, Danzel, who has definitely given his blessing, and he has forgiven his father. And I don't understand the connection with any of the other children that I've always tried for 31 years to stay in contact with, because they're my nieces and my nephews, and they don't know their father.
So we can hear from everybody?
Yes, ma'am. I'm just asking for mercy, and just realize that some situations are not like they are. Yes, a victim was killed, and I know my brother's very remorseful, and that's all I have to say. My husband here would like to speak, but I appreciate the time. Thank you all.
Radnigo, go ahead.
I'm Samuel Gradnigo. I came into this family about 12 years ago. My first meeting with Noble was one where we sat down and we spoke. And I've had a lot more time to listen to and discuss things with him. And one of the first things that struck me, especially as a minister, is the amount of remorse that he actually had. Now, I've been around people and I've seen people, who fake it. But in his particular case, it was genuine from the very beginning. He went through and talked about what happened, and the emotions and everything while he was talking was overwhelming, to say the least. I don't think that Mr. Robinson would have a problem if he was paroled today, because I would myself be willing to work with him, and also the support that he would have when he came out, including from me and his sisters and his fiance. Trust me, you would not ever have a problem with him.
Sir, okay, we have his fiance, Miss Martin. We'd like to hear from you. Go ahead, ma'am. You're on mute.
Sorry. Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. Afternoon, grace to all. This is, bear with me because it's very emotional for me, being that he is my future husband. But I do want to say this before I begin, if I may. And if I'm saying something that I shouldn't, just tell me to shut up. I have the transcripts in every piece of paper that he's ever gotten. And I know, sir, Mr. Board member, I know what you wanted him to say, and he has tried to avoid bringing that girl Patricia name up for fear of it's like a whole nother case. So instead of saying that they struggled with that, he just want to take full responsibility, which make it seem like he was lying. And because he didn't tell you exactly the way it really happened, you know, it is a lie because he didn't say it the way it exactly happened, but he was just only trying to avoid bringing that up about her because he just wanted to be responsible for it. And that was it. But nevertheless, my name is Beverly Martin. I've been knowing Noble for at least 45 years. We have a 43-year-old son and a 39-year-old daughter. I'm in property management. I have always, even though I may not have gone to see him for the full 32 years, I have kept the children in his life. I have done everything for him to see his children grow up by pictures and whatever else that was available. I am a very productive citizen here in Lake Charles, Louisiana. I do live a very comfortable life. I don't tolerate drugs, alcohol. I don't do either. And he knows to be my husband, which he wants to be. And I do want to be his wife. It's not even a second thought about that. It's not going to happen here. I'm Jesus all the way. And that is the way it's going to be in our marriage. I understand when someone has had a problem with drugs that, extending, some more classes or wanting some more classes. And if that's what you guys require, I have no problem with that. I know people everywhere. I know the places here. So this is not going to be a problem. He will have employment. I don't know how long he will want to work with his wife, but, we do have backup plans. But he can work for me and make a good salary. My son has offered him a job, which is his son, Terrence. That's the one named Terrence. He has offered him a job. My son is an engineer. And he's a project manager over interstates. So he has somewhere to go. He has work to do. And there's a lot of other things that I have planned if he gets paroled. Like my community of 250 people, which the family is a family community. I have so many youth, special boys that they come from troubled homes. They need guns. I do Bible studies, for the young people in my clubhouse, but to have a male figure that has been through what he has been through to be able to speak with them and talk with them, I think it would be just a wonderful thing. I'm a firm believer, if you can save one, God is pleased. So, I'm a firm believer in that. I'm a fisher of men also. I have been doing this practically all my life, reaching out to people, helping people, wanting to see people better themselves in whatever area it may be. I understand this is going to be a financial thing. He has to pay to be on parole. He has to pay to do this, pay to do that. I'm ready for that. I'm good for that. All I'm asking you guys is, consider him being paroled because I really believe it's free. He said Jesus Christ is free. But to be free in the physical.
Can you wrap it up for us, ma'am?
Yes, ma'am. I thank y'all for this opportunity to speak on his behalf. We have love here. And I just pray. I have been praying for years that he have this opportunity to come out and have a family and be successful. Thank y'all so much.
Ma'am, thank you. We would like to ask Mr. Noble, is there a statement you'd like to make before I turn it over to Ms. Connor?
I just like to tell the family, Sarita's family, that I am very, very remorseful for what I've done. It wasn't right, and I don't feel as though I was in my right mind either. But it's gonna be challenges for me if I were to get out. I hope that one day they can't find it in their hearts to forgive me.
Sorry, thank you. And let me just, for the information of our board members, and for Mr. Robinson, let you know that, the Parole Project, Mr. Kerry Myers has joined us to indicate the Parole Project for Mr. Robinson. Ms. Connor?
Hi, yeah, good afternoon, everyone. I wanted to start out with Noble Robinson and really highlight some pretty, I think, remarkable things about his time at Angola. As you all know, he's been there for 32 years. He has only had 4 write-ups in that time, the last one being over 25 years ago. And if there was any concern about how he behaves himself, I know that you see inmates who are trying to gain their freedom every day, and you see records and you see disciplinary records. And if someone has an issue with substance abuse, if they have an issue with anger management, if they have issues maintaining themselves around other difficult people, it comes out in their disciplinary reports. And this is just someone who I think by all accounts, when this happened, was in a toxic relationship, was living in an illegal manner, as was she. There were volatile dynamics there. And I think Mr. Mirabella pointed those out. I don't think that Mr. Robinson, and having spoken to him as well, I believe that he does understand and appreciate the gravity of what happened that day. I think he does. I think he does understand the dynamics that went into that. He is now a grown man of 71. Immediately after this took place, he rode his bike to the police station. He put the gun down. He admitted to everything that had happened. He told this board about a lot of illegal activity that he committed while he was on the street that is not in his record. In his record is only a conviction for check fraud when he was a much younger man, 20 years before this incident. He is someone that understands the life that he was in. He's someone that takes responsibility. He's someone that acknowledges wrongdoing, even when it's not on the records before this board. And I think there are outside reasons having to do with the family of the other person that was mentioned for him sort of minimizing the actions that she was involved in, that it was a complicated dynamic. But in the end, what Mr. Robinson understands is that but for his actions that day, Miss Thomas would not have been shot and killed. And I also think it's significant that his son, who was there that day and must carry unbelievable trauma from that day, was raised by Miranda Robinson, his sister, and has been part of their family his entire life. So I would encourage the board to look at all of the positive things he's done. And I think with Mr. Robinson, we also discussed the fact that he's been in for 32 years, that he has not struggled with alcohol addiction while he's been in prison, but that doesn't mean that those demons that he was dealing with on the outside aren't things that could recur under the stress of being re-entered to society, and that there are triggers and things that he has just not been dealing with for the past 30, and availability that he hasn't been dealing with for the past 32 years. And for that reason, the reentry program or plan that we gave to the board has been modified to include Louisiana Parole Project, because I think he's ready and he will need, in addition to a number of other things, he will need a softer landing. He will need a lot of structure, and he will need to understand that maintaining his sobriety is going to be an everyday, every minute, every hour kind of thing, and he's going to need to get the support. So I wanted to focus the board on really what we're doing today, and what we are asking is that the board give Mr. Robinson the opportunity to present his case to a parole board at some point in the future. All that we're asking for this board to do is to look at his accomplishments, look at his progress, and everything that you say to him and to me and to Mr. Myers and to his support system is well taken, that he is going to need additional support for his sobriety. And when he gets to, if this board gives him the opportunity and the governor gives him the opportunity to present his case in front of the parole board, to really face what happened that day with a little more clarity than what he did here. So what we're asking really is this board give him the opportunity to seek parole. And I think that his support system, his plan for release, and his disciplinary record and record in classes really weigh in favor of at least giving him that opportunity one day. Thank you.
I think we are prepared to vote.
All right, I'm moving for executive session.
We have a motion for executive session. Is there a second? Okay. We have a second by Ms. Jackson. Could you do the roll call, please? Ms. Jackson? Yes. Mr. Ritchie?
Yes.
Ms. Johnson? Yes. Mr. Marable?
Yes.
Yes.
So we will be in executive session for a few moments to discuss confidential matters. Stand by, Mr. Robinson. We'll be right back. Okay, we are back in regular session now, and we are prepared to vote. Mr. Marabella will be voting first.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Mr. Robinson, I just want to be perfectly frank with you, okay? Your interview didn't go very well.
Yes, I understand.
You understand that?
Yes, sir.
But I told you when I was first talking to you that I read your file, I looked at what all you had done, and my vote was different than where I was when you and I were talking.
Yes, sir. I understand.
You've done a lot of things. Now, your lawyer has said a lot of very good things for you. I didn't hear you say those things, okay? So I want to reiterate them just for a second, okay? Your lawyer, like me, believes you are an alcoholic. Your lawyer, like me, believes you're a drug addict. Your lawyer, like me, believes you need some substance abuse treatment.
Yes.
Now, depending on how the vote goes today, you have to come back before the parole board at some point if you're going to get out. If I'm still sitting here, you better have some good substance abuse programs behind you and a plan. You talked a little bit about AA, but you need to learn more about AA. You need to learn the 12 steps. You need to be able to do that. You've got a wonderful transition plan with the parole project.
Yes, sir.
They'll help with those things. But you need some things for yourself before you get out to go and do that, okay?
Yes.
Don't know what's going to happen when you come back, assuming that at some point you'll come before the parole board. If I'm here, that's what I want to hear. But other people may have taken my place by then, or other people. You're going to need to bolster up your substance abuse sobriety plan, okay?
Yes.
Oh, having said all of those things, my vote today is to recommend to the governor that he commute your sentence to 99 years and make you immediately parole eligible. So good luck to you.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Freeman?
I concur with you. So I'm not going to reiterate everything, but I also feel you've done some great things while in prison, and I vote is the same. To grant commute to 99 years with immediate parole eligibility.
Thank you, sir.
Ms. Jackson. All right, you have this program, you've got an excellent disciplinary record, you have a strong support system.
And so my vote today likewise is to recommend commutation sentence to 99 years of immediate parole eligibility. Thank you, Mr. Ray.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Mr. Rodney,
Yes, sir.
your interview today was horrible. It was terrible.
I understand.
It was terrible.
Yes, sir. I understand.
And if this was a parole hearing, and I was sitting on the panel, I would deny you. When I quote something, you are nonchalant, just sitting there. This should be the most important day of your 30 years of incarceration.
It is. Yes, sir.
His posture was horrible. And you just into poorly.
Yes, sir.
Now, Mr. Marabella said something about substance abuse. And there's substance abuse education and there's substance abuse treatment. And you need substance abuse treatment.
Yes, sir.
Evidence and balance is not going to cut it.
I understand.
You need a program. Hopefully by the time, and if and when the governor signs the recommendation, you need to take some substance abuse treatment.
Yes, sir.
Because if I'm sitting on the panel and you don't have it, I will deny you.
Yes, sir.
My vote is the same as my colleague.
Yes.
Mr.
Thank you.
Robinson. And I concur. My vote is also the same. I want everything that's been said, but it's based on the work that you've done. So we'll make your recommendation to the governor after your sentence be commuted to 99 years and that you be immediately paroled. Good luck
Thank
to
you.
you.
Thank you.
And I think that concludes our business at Angola, Ward and Ambo. Thanks for accommodating us. We'll adjourn. It's 2:18 p.m.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And as you could have guessed, the governor did grant his commutation. The governor granted 56 commutations just through October through December of last year before he left office. And that's why we're having so many blast to the past hearings. If you want to see more of them, just check out the playlist below. It's called The Return of. Maybe I should change the name of the playlist to Take a Blast to the Past. But we have a lot more of these hearings coming up because of all of these commutations. And it's interesting because there's a new parole board in town handpicked by a different governor. So it's not a walk in the park like it used to be. It used to be, hey, the governor handpicks a board. The board makes a recommendation for the governor to sign a commutation. The governor signs the commutation. The governor would be pretty puzzled, maybe upset even, if that board didn't then parole, because it's like it's making the governor look bad. It doesn't make sense. This is a new parole board. It's a new governor. There's a new sheriff in town, quite figuratively and literally, right? If you know what I'm talking about with Mr. Prater. But so there's no shoe-in. I think the parole board members know that. Now, parolees know that. Now, is he going to come in and have a better parole hearing? He had a pretty bad one now. And did he take the programs he needs to take? We'll find out if he'll get paroled. But real quick, I just want to go through this list of commutations. It's quite interesting. So it's a list of all the names. So you can see, for example, this person, Schedule 2, meth, life sentence. This person, theft. First-degree robbery, life sentence. Now, first-degree robbery, it can be sketchy. Sometimes they take plea deals on that, and there's quite a lot of violence in it. So you can't take that. But it was interesting. I was going through this habitual armed robbery. Okay, that you also don't know. But there's a few in here that you're like, maybe that person absolutely should get commutation, but maybe some of them shouldn't. So I'll give you an example. This person, perjury. I don't know. I'd be curious to know more info on how you get life for perjury. Here it is. Marijuana, distribution of marijuana, a life sentence. So I'm looking forward to doing that parole hearing for you to see how that's possible. And then you have other people that it's like, well, here it's 2 counts of first-degree murder. Wow, you murdered 2 people, and you're up for, you can get your sentence commuted. But we have a couple of these hearings coming up for you. Some of them are brutal. It's quite incredible to me that they even did get their sentences commuted. But anyways, enough of me jabbering. Let's jump into this hearing. Let's see if he gets this parole, and I'll unpack it with some more details or go over the docs at the end. Whoops, I'm back. I almost forgot to mention. So in this hearing, I skip over the supporting, his support. Part of why I skip it over is because they changed the format of how they do hearings. So they start with support first, and it really just, it doesn't flow right for me. They basically said the same thing that they said in the last hearing. It's the same people in support, which is meaningful. I do include what the warden has to say, and then his attorney speaks for a really long time. It's the same attorney. It's hard to hear what she's saying, though, because she's at the podium, and I skipped over her part, but she does come in later to say something. Of course, leave that in there. Let me know in the comment section if you'd rather me keep things how they are. It was about 25 minutes longer, though, because of how long his attorney spoke. So, but let me know in the comment section. Now let's go.
First off, I'd like to thank you for this opportunity to be in here today. I am truly sorry that I brought the family of Mr. Rita Thomas through the hurt, pain, and suffering, as well as my son, her friends, and the community where it happened. Ms. Thomas didn't deserve to die, and I take full responsibility for my actions. Her life can never be replaceable, and there's not a day that goes by that I don't regret doing what I did for us taking her life. So,
Take your time.
thanks, sir. Thanks. Oh. In 1999, my oldest sister died. The following year in 2000, my mother died. I figured it was time for a change in my life. So I started going to church, which is something I never did as an adult on the streets. I was too busy getting high, drinking, and my life was just going in the wrong direction. So I wanted off that crooked path. And God helped me because during that same year, 2000, I got baptized. I started going to faith-based programs, going to Bible study on Sundays, just in Bible study, experiencing God at Agape Road, going to seminars. And I thank God for Kairos, because Kairos really helped change me in a way I couldn't even imagine. I started going to the classes, these programs Angola was offering. These classes were pivotal in my change, as well as crucial in my rehabilitation. One of the classes I took was really emotional to me, and that was victim impact. Victim impact, it was just so different from any other program because we had people come off the streets that they gave us account of how their kids was killed. They were from Lafayette. Before the program was over, being 10 people that was selected, only 5 stayed. I'm proud to say today that I was one of the 5. Because every program I got in, I finished except one. And that program was AA, Alcoholics Anonymous. In Alcoholics Anonymous, I received certificates that stated that my participation and the way I was handling myself for as being there all the time. I even facilitated the program at times. And I thank God for my beautiful fiance, Miss Beverly Martin, because we talked and she asked me one of the priorities that I like to do when I get out. And I told her that I want to achieve my sobriety. She quickly made phone calls to different places that we can go to for as AA. And I've been accepted there at any time if I make parole. This was good to me because I want to help others. I know what I did was wrong. And like I say, I can never replace that. But I'm going to give back. That's priority to me. I'm going to help them kids out there comes from broken homes, don't have that father figure. See, these kids today need attention, not detention. And I know I can help because, see, I've been there and I did that. At present, I'm 73 years old. 34 years I've been incarcerated. On the 9th of this month, 22 years as a Class A trustee, I never lost it. This July passed 28 years without a write-up. I never had a fight. I never been in a block. Every drug test they gave me came back negative. As a Class A trustee, I worked as a maintenance at Camp D. I had 2 jobs. The second job, prison enterprises, CDC warehouse, personal property. I've been there now 17 years. One of the most outstanding things for me at this place is the community service I did. Well, I would devote my time, especially around Christmas time, making thousands and thousands of Christmas bags for inmates, not only here in Angola, for other penitentiaries in the state of Louisiana. My supervisor would evaluate me from 3 to 4 times a year on my job performance. Every last one of them was excellent. I even received certificates, Employee of the Month, this last one being in July. Certificate in this house of service, in service award for the 17 years I've been in CDC, and certificate for forklift handling. I have no problem working. And if I can help you, I will help you. See, I do care for others because everybody's life is valuable. Being in Tupuku, which is a good class I was in, I learned that I'm gonna have me a long-term goal. And that goal is to giving back. People don't understand that life is short. And what I took, I'm gonna give back. Because you got too many kids out there today that comes from broken homes, kids that don't have that father figure. I'm gonna play a part in that, especially in my fiance's community. For 38 years, she has been the manager of a mobile home complex that has over 250 mobile homes. She's a woman and only had one worker for a maintenance man. I'm gonna help her out. And she's gonna be right there 100% with me. See, I wanna start a club for these kids. If I can get them off the street just for a little while, that might help them in lives. Because like I say, they need help. Tupuku helped me. I graduated in Tupuku with a certificate and cap and gown. That was awesome. Tupuku has a meaning. And I'm gonna take that meaning along with its contents to these kids. The only person you cheat is you. That is a good access to things I want to do. I pray that I do make parole today, and I'm gonna stand good with my words. because a man without a word is not a man.
Thank you so much. Does anyone at the staff have something to say on Mr. Noble's behalf?
Yes, sir. Just to remind the board, he has been a trustee for 22 years. He has a very impressive disciplinary record, 4 DV reports since he's been incarcerated. The last one was in 1996. That's pretty impressive. Some of the classes that he's done is victim awareness, substance abuse, in and out dads, anger management. He did have his GED, back in 1969. So he has that, and he completed the Tabuco class in April of this year. Thank you.
Thank you, Warden. You all doing a good job there. Mr. Noble.
Yes.
Your case has been assigned to Mr. Boris, and he will ask questions along with the rest of the board. All right, I just need to state a few facts before I ask you the question. It looks like, according to what we're seeing, on August 15th, 1990, the victim reported to the police that the night before, the offender threatened to kill her and threatened to burn her house down while he was lighting a match, stole her food stamp card and the key to her house. That's on the 15th. On the 16th, 1990, the victim reported to police he tried to break into the house in the middle of the night and threw a brick through the kitchen window. Also reported that the back of her sofa was cut with a knife. Then on the 20th, 1990, you went to her house again. Also while walking on the street, y'all got into an argument and you threatened to kill her again. And then 4 days later, on August 25th, 1990, the police were called to the grocery store where they found the victim lying in the back seat of the car with a gunshot wound to the head and her right thigh. And my question is, with all of that time and all of that from the 15th to the 25th, 10 days, you had a lot of time to think about what you were going to do. Why did you do it? What did she do? Why did you kill her? And not just leave.
Well, sir, on the day of the accident, I did pull the gun out. Me and Miss Petrie tussled with the gun. She grabbed it, and it just everything went wrong. The gun went off. I never had intention of killing this woman. I never had intention. I never threatened her. So I don't even know where that come from. Excuse me, but I do know that I was threatened by her boyfriend. And this is the only reason why I purchased the gun. And when the brick went in her window, I threw the brick at his truck. It come off the top of his camper into her window. I never had intention to do her any harm. I just don't understand where all that come from. Because I never harmed anybody. I never threatened nobody, especially not the woman that has my child. It's just though it wasn't me. I never even beat a woman in my life. I just never stopped. I don't cuss. I don't do none of that. I know I was on drugs, but I know what happened.
You saying you didn't pull the trigger, the gun just went off by itself?
No, the gun didn't go off by itself. Me and Miss Petrie tussled with the gun. When I pulled it out, she was in the back seat of a car. When I pulled out that gun, Miss Teresa grabbed the barrel and 2 shots went off. I found out later one of them went in her leg. The other one did go in her head. That's when I seen her bleed. That's when I went to the police station and told them I shot her and turned myself in. That never was intentional. No, sir. That never was intentional.
You didn't intend to shoot anybody. Why did you pull the gun out?
I pulled the gun out to show the gun because of the threat. This dude she was gone with was sending threats to me.
He wasn't there, right?
Sir?
He was at the scene?
No, he wasn't at the scene. I showed her the gun that I purchased the gun because I was told to watch my back. And watching my back, I purchased that gun just for that. And when I threw that brick at his truck, the brick went in her window, I was trying to bring him out there because he's a married man. Plus, he was a drug dealer. I didn't want him around my son. My problem was to go, I wanted to see my son. I was paying child support, so why I can't see him? I never really understand that. You know, just two people like that, we should have had that understanding. I love my son. You doing drugs and seeing another man, that's your problem. That's your business. I didn't have no problem with it that. I just had a problem with them doing drugs around my son. And when I pulled the gun out, like I said, I was just showing her the gun because I know for a fact, sir, I didn't even I didn't even cock the handle. I didn't even cock the handle. So like I say, it went off during the tussle with me and Miss Petrie.
All right. That was my only question. Ms. Ledoux?
Mr. Robinson, how old were you when you committed that crime?
39 years old.
9 years old. My mama would have said old enough to know better, huh? You have 8 children.
Yes, ma'am.
How many of them are you in connection with?
My oldest son, one in Atlanta that we do email. Only one I don't have contact with is the one that lives in Houston, Nova Robinson III. I'm in contact with all the rest of them.
Don't think I have any other questions.
Mr. Robinson, I heard you say earlier in your statement, this cow wash thing, what are you talking about?
Kairos?
Kairos.
Yeah. Kairos was very beneficial to me because Kairos really the one that changed my life. When a person gets to Kairos, you can't help but change your life because Kairos is about fellowshipping, it's about knowing God, it's about forgiving people that's actually your enemies. And in Kairos, they gave us cookies to bring to people that we made a dislike or not. And I did that there. I really appreciated Kairos. And if I could took it again, I'd take it again. I was in Kairos 3.
In Kairos, it says the choices we make are the choices we have to live with.
Yes,
Is that
sir.
correct?
That's
You
right.
remember?
Yes, sir.
And you remember the cookies too, huh?
Oh, I remember the cookies. I remember the cookies. I ate some of them. They really were good, but it was mostly about giving it to, don't give it to people that you like, give it to people that you may dislike.
Right, I'm familiar with it. Is the board ready to vote?
I'd like to take an executive session.
Can I get a second? Call roll, please.
Carol Ledoux? Yes. Danny Barrow?
Yes.
Joe Tilley?
Yes. We're gonna go for executive session. Reconvening at 11:25. Call roll, please.
Carol Ledoux? Here. Danny Barrow?
Here.
Joe Tilley?
Here. Mr. Robinson, there are a couple more questions some of my colleagues want to talk to you about.
Yes,
If you
sir.
don't mind.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Robinson, we have a police report. In fact, I don't know if you know, when we get these reports, I have 224 pages in just one of the files for you. And I have 5 files. We have lots and lots of information that we go through.
Yes, ma'am.
And sometimes it's hard to distill between the police report and what you're saying and what we see happen, okay? So you had in the reports, talking to the victim, we have incidences of throwing the brick and you're threatening, lots of things that concern me. because I see this escalating, behavior.
Yes, ma'am.
And then you have a gun and you are involved in something. Now, the police report and what you're saying happened are not the same.
Okay.
There's nothing in the police report about an altercation with another person
Or the boyfriend.
or anything. I mean, we're saying, and you see, we use evidence, not hearsay, to make decisions. So I really need for you to tell me again, what happened on that day? Church Point is small.
Right.
And if she's at the grocery store, you probably know she's at the grocery store. Tell me what happened. Tell me what happened again.
Well, I went to the grocery store on a bike. I fell off the bike. I heard a voice say, "Daddy, Daddy." That was my son. I could recognize his voice, but I didn't recognize the car. I did not know that they was there. So I could come around with the bike to the passenger side. My son was standing up in the middle of the seat in the back. Miss Thomas was behind the driver's side halfway through the seat. Miss Petrie was in the passenger side. So I'm here trying to talk to my son because he called for me. I'm hurting, I'm full of alcohol, the drugs. But I don't use that as an excuse because she started talking and I'm talking and we arguing. So now I say, can I get my son something at the store? She told me no to get away. She started cussing because I was drunk. But then she gonna tell me about watch your back. That's the second time she told me this within a week's time. See, I already knew what it was about because the dude she was seeing, he not only was married, but he was a drug dealer. Her brother came to me about trying to bust him because he was a cop in Opelousas. So I agreed to do with him. But neither one of us could bust him, so they brought in a narcotics agent from Lake Charles. It never did get off his feet to where we could do it, but he got a hold to it at what we was trying to do. That's where the threat came in, and that's when I purchased the gun. When I pulled that gun out, because she told me to watch my back a second time behind the brick, because I did hit his car, his truck ran to the top of the camper, and they went in her window. I showed her the gun. That's all I was doing. Because like I said, I never pulled the handle. So I didn't never mean to fire the weapon. But when Miss Petrie grabbed the gun, hell broke loose and 2 shots went off. I found out later that one of the shots went in her leg. But when the other shot I see hit her head, she was bleeding. That's when I got on the bike and went to the police station and turned myself in.
Did you shoot Ms. Thomas?
No, ma'am. I had to, but don't get me wrong, my finger was on the trigger, but I didn't cock the handle. The gun is not going to go off unless you cock the handle. And that's how the trigger was, for the handle. Me being in the condition I was in, I didn't really pay attention to that. But I know one thing, I did not cock that handle. At the time, I done got angry, I done pulled the gun out. I shot at her at a downward angle. I did not know that the shot hit her in her leg. I shot.
So you intended to shoot the gun?
I didn't intend to shoot her. I intended to shoot into the seat of the car.
You had your son in the back seat. She was in the back seat, and you shot a weapon into the car? For what reason?
Yes, sir.
If you have a gun and she is shot,
Mm-hmm.
say that you shot her? You went to the police station and you said, I shot Miss Thomas.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
So you admit you shot her.
Yeah, I was taking full responsibility for my actions. Yes, ma'am.
Your attorney wants to make a statement. Is that acceptable to the board?
Right, yeah.
Just to clarify, just quickly,
So there is, and there's a lot of records, but there are issues, and there were issues at trial with gunpowder residue, and when he's saying like cock the gun, there was a lot of litigation about it. So I think there is some like legal issues around that. And in terms of firing it, what he's saying is the intent aspect of that. And his trial and the facts around his case, which is why it's so robust, were controversial. The person that he is the boyfriend of Miss Thomas at that time was not investigated for any threats. A lot of the police reports that were, and I'm not fully aware of all of the police reports to acknowledge that for sure, but were incidents involving the boyfriend. The boyfriend was not reporting them and was having Miss Thomas, but those incidents were with him. And as Mr. Robinson said, the purchase of the gun were because of ongoing threats with this particular male individual. And all of that is to say, like, what he, in terms of Ms. Ledoux, the gun issue was litigated fully at trial, and was an issue on the defense's side. And as he's saying, once the gun was fired, obviously he had his finger on the trigger and it was fired. He didn't intend to shoot her in this particular places that he shot her, but once he saw that she was shot by him, he went to the police station and unloaded the gun, said, I shot a person, in the midst of all of this happening.
I got a question for you. What came out at trial about the gunshot residue on the lady he says also had a hold of the gun? Did she ask positive for gunshot residue?
There was no gunshot residue from my recollection. I haven't looked at the entire trial record in a while. But that she didn't have. She is in like the appeal opinion, like she was a part of the case. I did read that recently. Appeal just an opinion, and Ms. Petrie is mentioned in the facts of the case in the appellate decision. So she was present along with Ms. Thomas and his son.
But she had no gunshot residue on her.
Not that I recall. Again, that was again an issue in total, that there wasn't any on him as well.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you. Mr. Barr, you have any more questions?
Something, I don't know.
No,
Huh?
no. Mr. Barr,
I don't have any more questions.
is the panel ready to vote? The board. Mr. Robinson, Mr. Barr has handled your case. He'll be voting first. Mr. Barrs.
Mr. Robinson, today I am not able to vote to grant parole for you. I'm gonna have to vote to deny it based on the strong opposition from the victim's family, sisters, brothers, victim's son, the extremely strong opposition from law enforcement officials who commented, the serious and violent nature of the crime that was committed with a gun, and that's it.
Ms. Ledoux.
Mr. Robinson, my vote today would be to grant. I think you have some excellent plans. I think you've proven inside what you're capable of, and that was to stay right up free, to hold jobs, to be respected, to change. And I believe you've done that. And I ask you to continue that behavior.
Thank you.
Mr. Robinson, my vote also is to grant and to release you to the Louisiana Parole Project. And I think you've done an excellent job while you're there. The warden speaks highly of you and your record speaks highly of you. I would suggest also to keep up the good work. This concludes our business for today. But you've been denied. There's 2 against 1.
Yeah.
And, but we'll have to try it again. This concludes it. Thank you.
Isn't it just fascinating? What a psych out with that. I thought he was granted. I didn't realize he needed unanimous either. And it seemed that everyone knew watching except for the parole board because, anyways, that was totally a psych out. But I just can't get over the idea that he gets commuted for basically saying that he points the gun and shoots her as he goes like that. And then 3 years later, he comes back, 2 years later, actually, he comes back and he has a completely different story. This is the stuff that makes me like, again, it's when you watch enough of these, you find yourself becoming more and more and more jaded. I thought his emotions looked real. What did you think? I thought he was crying. I thought the tissues, like we see so many where the acting is just so clear and obvious. I didn't think it was in this case. But why change the story? Isn't it amazing? I mean, you see completely two different stories. Did his attorney advise him? Did he hear that it's a new board that's tougher? He has to do it, or did he just totally forget? Is every time he tells a story, it's a different story? The bottom line is he killed a woman in the backseat of her car with the child. Is it also his child in the car with her? How do you do that? He's 39 years old when he did that. This is like, I get it that he's, all the things. I skipped over the attorney, right? His attorney was coaching the parole board on how Angola is and how few write-ups he has and how unique it is. She was like really coaching them, and I was like, wow, it's just not what you want to do with your time. But I think I took it out, right? I can't, with these hearings, I'm doing so many of them now, and also when I tie them together, it starts to all meld in together, and we'll go over the appeal, but this parole board, they impressed me. I'm still having to get used to the new members, and I'm surprised Mrs. Ledoux kind of granted but they're talking about all the documents and everything that he's saying. But what's interesting is that all they really need to do is go back and watch his commutation hearing, which is on record, and hear if his story is different or the same. And this is the amazing thing. What Richard has built, Sir Richard, I've shown it to you guys a couple of times, but if you haven't seen it, he has spreadsheets, Google spreadsheets. We have a lot of them. One of them that we have, it's so heavy. There's so much data in it that it's slow. And I am using the most expensive internet I can get my hands on. I'm not on Wi-Fi. I'm connected straight to the wall. I have a really good gaming computer that's got all this extra RAM I installed into it, and the sheet is slow. That's how much data he packs into it. And we have more than 3 spreadsheets. Each spreadsheet has like 10 tabs. Each tab goes down to like 3,000 rows. And so basically the point I'm making is that if the Louisiana Board of Paroles actually had access to this spreadsheet, it would probably be a more useful tool than the million X dollar system they probably consulted out to build for them. When he comes up in my system, Richard, it's there. It's like, here, he has a commutation hearing. Here's a link to his parole hearing. Here's all of the data points. Here's what he said. I mean, within minutes, or at least, a certain amount, not that much time, we can already decipher more than I think what the parole board can, even what his attorney can, and what everyone else. Like, we could just say, hey, look, this is what you said. Stick to the same story. The whole idea with the criminals that kill people, they all have so many of them had the same. The gun went off. I don't know how it went off. This time it was the hammer wasn't pulled. It just somehow went off. And then they're going, well, was there residue on her hand? And the attorney's like, oh, I don't know. I don't know if there's residue. I have access to the appeal. Again, thank you to Sir Richard. I'm sure they do too, but there's no mention of residue in the appeal. He appealed on three the appeal was on 3 assignment of errors. And nowhere in here do they mention, and maybe they have information I don't have. Maybe they have documents that we don't have, but there's no mention of anything that they're talking about today. And I think his attorney really was just ad-libbing it. I don't think she knew, but I have no idea. Again, they could easily have more info than we have. But here it is. On August 25th, 1990, at approximately 3:45 p.m., the defendant rode his bicycle into the parking lot of Kelly IG Grocery at Church Point, Louisiana, and approached a parked vehicle. Inside the vehicle were the victim and the defendant's former girlfriend. Sorry, the defendant's former girlfriend. And the couple's, it was his son, right? I should have known. And the couple's 4-year-old son. He shot her point blank with her 4-year-old son there. It's just crazy. At 39 years old. Patricia, his girlfriend, was seated in the front passenger seat of the vehicle. A brief conversation ensued, after which the defendant drew a .38 caliber revolver and proceeded to shoot Sarita Thomas once in the thigh and once in the head. The defendant then remounted his bicycle, rode to Church Point Police Department, where he informed the police, the dispatcher, that he had shot Sarita. He promptly unloaded the weapon, placing both the bullets and the unloaded weapon on the dispatcher's desk. Immediately, he was arrested and informed of his Miranda rights. Thereafter, the defendant made a number of inculpatory statements, both unsolicited during the interrogation. Patricia, a passenger of the vehicle, testified she heard the defendant say, "Oh, so there was someone in the car. I was going to do it." Seconds before he pulled the trigger, the defense objected. The state, however, noted that it was was going to do it the seconds before he pulled the trigger. The defense objected. The state, however, noted that I guess because it's hearsay. No, but she's a witness. I don't understand. Oh, let's see. The state, however, noted that it was relying on 2 distinct provisions in the evidence code, of which set forth exceptions to hearsay rule, the existing mental, emotional, physical condition, and things that are done. How is that hearsay if it's a witness saying what they saw? Am I wrong? I don't understand how that's okay. Hearsay statements are generally inadmissible because of their historic unreliability and because of the unfairness. The defendant cannot test the truth of the statement. Okay. So that's why it's hearsay, because she's the only witness that's saying it. I don't know. One traditional exception to the rule, however, involves out-of-court declarations intended to prove the state amended the declarant. Blah, blah, blah. The following are not excluded the hearsay rule, even though the declarant is available as a witness. The existing mental, emotional condition, statement of physical declarants, then existence states, blah, 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 blah. But basically, they end up saying that she was allowed to say it and it wasn't hearsay, I guess. They just go through all the legal stuff. I know some of you are really into this. I'm fascinated by it too, but I'm not an attorney, as you all know, and it's just very jumbled when I read it, and we've been here a long time, so I'm not going through all of it, of course. Then number 2, assignment of error. So, well, let's just finish it off. The statement recalled by Patricia placed as an immediate what is this? Concomitance? I'm not okay. I don't know that word. Of the defendant's criminal act. The words were spoken seconds before the fatal shooting, and the defendant was leaning into the car on the passenger side with Miss Petrie was seated and able to hear the conversation as it transpired. As such, the statement was admissible under both provisions. Evidence code, the assignment of error lacks merit. So he lost his first. Assignment error number 2. By this assignment, the defendant argues that several photographs should have been excluded because their probative value was substantially outweighed by the danger of unfair prejudice. Specifically, the defendant complains that Exhibit S15 through S18 that depict the accurate view of the crime scene should not have been admitted into evidence. The defendant is particularly concerned about S18, which shows the position of the victim's body in the vehicle. Why could you not show photographs of the crime scene? Okay. They say it. We're not convinced these photographs had any undue prejudicial effect on the jury. The assignment of relaxed merit. Now, assignment of error number 3. He's like really stretching here. It's like this is all they have in the appeal, right? Defendant contends to his final assignment of error. Inculpatory statements made by him to officers McBride should have been excluded as evidence because he was not properly informed of his Miranda rights. Immediately following the defendant's arrest, the detective informed the defendant of his Miranda rights. The defendant was then placed in a cell guarded by officer who fully disclosed his identity to the defendant, and he was dressed in plain clothes. The officer visibly carried a gun and at all times displayed his badge and his outer clothing. Within minutes, the following conversation was initiated by the defendant and testified by the other. He had asked me how the girl was doing, and I advised him that I couldn't tell him anything. He would have to wait for the detectives. And then he stated that he had shot to wound her, not to kill her. So that's story number 3, I guess. And in brief, the defendant argues even though he had been arrested and informed of his rights with Officer Dale, this did not relieve Officer McBride of his duty and the defendant to the right to remain silent and not give a statement concerning the crime. Existing jurisprudence recognizes a spontaneous violence. Didn't it feel to you as well that they're almost victim blaming? It's a tumultuous relationship. It's this, it's that. And it's like, hello, she broke up with him. He's stalking her, saying, I just didn't want her to do drugs. And it's like, you're the one who's the addict, brother. Like, what are you saying? It felt like it was, but now that I'm thinking about it, it did feel like victim blaming. We don't know her exact situation. There was no one here representing her. You know, these are the cases that you need an ADA, someone to just lay down the truth, because we have seen it happen how many times where a victim is dragged through the mud, but then there is someone there to say, no, none of that's true. Defendant also complains the taped confessions he gave to the detective should have been suppressed prior to receiving the taped confessions. The detective testified the informed defendant each of individual Miranda rights, blah, blah, blah. So there's more in here. I'll drop the link. But yeah, nothing about gun residue in here. And that was it. That was what it wrote. Now, he might get granted. Also, what was interesting is the last hearing is all about substance abuse, and you know, they didn't care about that. This new board, it's a new board. They're singing a different song. They're riding a different pony. And that's got to be a mind trip for anyone who was commuted by the other board. It's a different road. So anyways, what do you think? Thank you, Sir Richard, again for tying together all the dots. And if you want to see more of these hearings, put it in the comment section. Check out the playlist. I'm putting a lot of effort into doing these return ofs. So if it's not something you're into, then let me know as well. And with that, I'll let you go.
But I didn't cock the handle. The gun is not going to go off unless you cock the handle. And that's how the trigger was, for the handle. Me being in a condition I was in, I didn't really pay attention to that. But I know one thing, I did not cock that hammer. At the time, I done got angry, I done pulled the gun out. I shot at her at a downward angle. I did not know that the shot hit her in her leg. I shot.
Are you intended to shoot the gun?
I didn't intend to shoot her. I intended to shoot into the seat of the car.
You had your son in the back seat. She was in the back seat, and you shot a weapon into the car?